Welcome to HR on the Rocks, a podcast for professionals that takes you behind the closed door.
Welcome back to HR on the Rocks.
Cheers, cheers.
Yep. Cheers. And thanks for tuning in again this week. We're going to be discussing coping mechanisms for HR professionals.
What do we got? Episode 5?
I think this is 5. Yeah.
Sounds right.
So.
Yeah.
We made it to 5?
We made it to 5, yeah.
We have, yep.
If our listeners have made it to 5.
High five.
High five. High five.
High five. Made it to 5. It seemed appropriate after last week's, conversation on what's fun about HR that we might dive into how to deal with HR when it's in the not so much fun times. Like, what do you do? How do you cope? Other than what we're doing right now, talking about it. But I think, at least for me, listening to music is a great way to help in managing some of the more stressful times, both professionally and personally. But professionally, there was a time not that long ago that I would put on a particular rap song as I was going into work to prepare myself for what I knew I was likely to encounter that day. But before I get
this is going.
But before I get into that,
were we all working there?
Actually, well, probably, but this actually started before that. This was like,
okay.
Yeah, I won't say the year, but it was before then. I also used it with you guys, but it was an already established thing that I did at that point.
And if my guess is right, then it's even more funny once she says it. So
yeah,
we'll continue. You continue. No, sorry to cut you off.
No, but before I let you in on the rap song that I used to cope with work or to try to prepare myself to go into work, I'm curious what rap song, Justin, you may have used in the past or with stressful times in HR, what you might associate with HR.
Okay, yeah, because this is episode 5, but episode 2 in a row of fun for me, because I think, as we know, how I feel about everything and I'm way on this side and Jake's in the middle and Melanie's on the right. So mine doesn't necessarily, it's not a coping, it's putting myself in that spot of where you are, because what I mainly done in HR is be that person in the interviewee and the interviewer. And so Lose Yourself by Eminem correlates 100% with me. And everybody who's watching this and listening to this is going to go, what do you even possibly mean? There's no way. Okay, well, let's think. Verse 1, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are
It's like the beginning of an interview, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but
the beginning of the interview, you got to shake it out.
Exactly. You got to shake it out. You're sweating. Whether you're in person or you're on the phone, you're like, I can do this. You're nervous, but let's just say you're on the other side of the desk and this is the first time you're actually interviewing someone in person, or this is a critical hire for you, and you have candidates that are coming in that are really going to be able to help your company achieve what you're looking for. And so you sit there and you think I actually really had situation. Fun. Yeah, I really had fun with this project that we talked about, and we were just kind of, I didn't think you were serious, Melanie, when you said, hey, we should correlate.
I know, when she threw it out there.
Hey, when she threw it out there, I was like, okay, well then I'm going to do this. And the more I started reading this, and I understand what, there's musical interpretation. Everybody can interpret things, and I'm not going to be literal on but I took it for what this project was. And then, I started going through that, and then I went through, verse 2, and it's like, soul's escaping through this hole that is gaping. This world is mine for the taking. And if you're the interviewer, you're like, that's right. I just answered those questions right. Yes. And you're the interviewer.
Right.
You're like, This is mine. This is my job. This is what I'm going to take. And we've all been there. We've all been nervous. We've all started realize that we're answering some good questions and we're doing this. And, At the same
Get in
time,
the zone, right?
exactly. And you're on the desk on the opposite side, and you're like, oh my God, this is the best candidate I've ever heard in my
Yeah,
life.
this is the
This
guy.
candidate's
This is the
so great.
gal, right?
This is the person. And so, I started, hey, then guess what? Verse 3 is what? No more games. I'm going to change what you call rage. I'm going to tear this. I'm not going to go. I'm going to just tear this roof off. We're not going to go into these whole lyrics, but that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
We'll stop
Gotta
there.
keep this one PG-13, right?
But you know what I'm saying? And he keeps going, and I was playing in the beginning, and the mood all changed. But here's the deal. I mean, that's the truth. That's what we do on either side of that desk in HR and that's one aspect of HR. It's not y'all's. It's not Melanie's. It's not Jake. It's not for everybody out there. But in my experiences, that's what it is. And yeah, you do feel. Both people can feel the same in all three of those lyrics on either side of the desk you're on. And it just really correlated with the fact that I was like, I did not even think that this would even match up and I had such a good time with it and just started really laughing because I know I have been where I'm sitting there and I'm like, ugh, ugh, and I'm at the very end of
Getting fired
every
up.
song and I'm like, ugh. But I'm doing it on both sides, right? I've done it as being the person being interviewed going, I know I nailed that. And then I've also done it being the person trying to get the candidate into the organization that I so want. And then once I get off the phone with him, I have got the deals done. He's accepted the money. She's accepted benefit. Everything. Yes. And that's how you feel. And that's how it actually correlates to me. Melanie, that's probably not exactly what you had in mind for this episode. But that's okay.
No, that's I
I
love
tried.
it.
I tried.
Yeah, I love it. I haven't thought about it. I haven't listened to Eminem in a while. I know. I want to listen to Lose Yourself again.
I know, right?
Or look up the lyrics because I actually did look up the lyrics to my song and I was like, whoa, I forgot a lot of these things that he says in the song. But I still love it.
So that's what I got. What do you got, Jake?
So one thing about me that I think has always been true, and it probably started with the military. I don't know that it started before that, but like in the military, you go from job to job very quickly. And so you kind of like the moment you start to get comfortable and like know what you're doing, they would switch the position and you'd go do something else, right? Sure. So it's always, for me, like growth has always been important. And if I feel like I'm stuck or, I've got the routine down and I know exactly what it is I'm doing, like that's the moment that I actually get really uncomfortable. And I know there are other people out there like that, certainly. And so I kind of went with, my initial instinct was something Beastie Boys. Melanie, you'd made a guess that was probably pretty accurate. I started there and I'm like, what Beastie Boys lyrics? And there's some lyrics that we'll talk about later that I think relate to what we're going to discuss in this episode. But for me, it was Drake started at the bottom. Now we're here. And I'm not even a big Drake fan, but I think that, at the end of the day, like that personal growth is critical and always has been and always speaks to kind of how I've operated throughout my career. And so, again, I think it's one of those things that like as you look at HR and the responsibility of HR, like we're there to help employees train and grow. And, they come in at that entry level position. And there's nothing more rewarding as a leader, as an HR person, to watch someone just absolutely kill it in this role, and then they get that promotion, right? And then they kill it in that role, and they get the next promotion. And so, it makes you feel good.
Because they're making an impact.
Well done.
There you go.
Because they're making an impact. Shameless plug. So
there you go.
Yeah, Drake, right. So yeah, I think that was kind of the song that as I was like sitting there thinking about like, what's my story, what's HR, that one kind of stuck out for me. So that's the one I went with. But
okay.
I like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I need to listen to both of those songs again. It is. Yeah. It's funny because mine is I don't know what mine is. Mine's angry. So for me, I
I think I think with that I know
would
exactly what song it is. But go ahead.
Ooh.
for me, DMX's Party Up is my
Yeah.
go-to HR rap song, and it's really probably because it came on the radio on the right day at the right time. I had had a rough day at work, and the lyrics, "Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here," that just really resonated with me on that day. And it was cathartic in a way. Because, in HR, it's important that you maintain a
Oh
calm,
yeah. Yeah, that
professional
professional demeanor.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least when you're at work. But then the reality is that there are some situations where you really just have to put the frustration and the anger or whatever negative emotion that probably comes naturally in certain stressful situations. You have to put it away.
I'm taking
Even if
notes.
you're
Be calm in HR. Huh. I'm taking
You
that's
notes
need
for
to take
right.
myself.
notes.
I'm learning today. See, I'm learning.
This is good. It's a
Yeah,
journey, growth
and
journey for
it's
Justin now.
I'm gonna
when
actually
you're
listen to Drake.
when
Don't
you're
even know who
getting
he is, so good.
but DMX, right?
Well,
Yeah.
obviously,
He knows
that's
the
more my
yeah.
Um,
generation.
yeah, your generation speaks to me. But
Mm.
when you're when you're getting yelled at by someone for something that a decision you didn't even make, and you're like the middle person or
Yeah.
you're the messenger, and it's like, I have to be calm right now. But over time, if you don't find a way to deal with that frustration or the stress that's built up, it can turn into a real problem, and it might manifest itself as high blood pressure or an anxiety attack or whatever, that's a real thing. So for me, listening to the tough music, DMX's Party Up, is a way of finding an outlet to express feelings about something that occurred later, that day or, earlier that week or whenever. And while I can't actually say, I shouldn't actually say some of the things, the lyrics that DMX or whoever, raps about. I can't say that at work. I
Right.
shouldn't say that at work. But listening to the lyrics later on or while I'm in my car rapping or trying to rap or every fifth word, it's helpful. And for me, there's almost like an element of fantasizing about being able to be really tough because, like, come at me, bro, because I'm the opposite of that. I'm the least tough that there could be, at least on the
Or
outside. And so,
saying what you want, right? I
Yeah.
just
yes,
don't
Yeah, losing
understand.
that
And
professional
why,
demeanor. Yeah.
why,
yeah,
why? I don't understand why I'm losing my job. What did I do wrong? You literally called in 26 of 30 days.
yeah,
What do you expect? I
right,
mean, you lost the company car in a lake. I mean, there are some real things that we could actually talk about,
yeah,
and that'll be for another time. And people come in and
yeah.
have done that to both of you. I don't understand. What
hmm
what did I do wrong?
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
you get to embrace, or I at least get to embrace that characteristic that I don't possess, but at least through, I mean, I wish I could, and at least through a rap song for 3 minutes or whatever, I kind of can. But yeah, no, I think rap music and music in general, can touch on some deeper emotions. And whether that, I mean, sometimes it's just surface level, whatever, it's just music. But sometimes, there's maybe a struggle with mental health or societal pressure or feeling inadequate. And rap artists use their music as an outlet to express the feelings. And, HR has kind of increasingly become involved in supporting employee well-being, mental health, and connecting employees to resources to help them with stress management or, just overall mental health. So yeah, so
And
each of us,
I'm gonna jump in there. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there real quick because like it's really interesting thinking of that. And then if you haven't watched, I'm gonna space out the name of the movie, but it's about NWA, and that move or in that the hip hop and rap movement that was occurring at that time. And it's really interesting that you put it that way, especially like the frustration and the anger that came with like the societal issues that they were responding to at that time, right? Especially in like LA and Compton, and it really is a fascinating movie to watch. I'm going to space the name of the movie, but anyway, the point is, again, like that's like where rap started to really come on the scene, and it was like that edgy, like you could express those raw emotions, and that
Hmm.
frustration. So, and then in NWA's case, like the whole song about the police, and I won't get into what that what that song was about, but the point is like they were expressing that frustration. So it is interesting that you talk about like the connection between like mental health and music and
Yeah.
that frustration that you feel at work. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I mean, really art and or any kind of art, I think in general, used with music or reading or painting or whatever. But it's interesting. So each of us has a rap song, and they're all a little bit different. But that's in us coping with a rough day at work, or at least for me, it's putting on the DMX and like living for 3 minutes through that. And music in general, whether it's rap or not, can be a great coping mechanism for some people. But speaking of coping mechanisms, I'm
It's
curious,
a good segue.
Justin. That's right. I'm curious, Justin, if you have any advice or any recommended coping mechanisms for HR professionals when they're dealing with a difficult employee. What would you say? What should they do?
I'm actually going to give the best piece of advice that I have been given, and that is actually from the man I see in my middle here. Take a breath.
Huh.
Take a breath.
Really,
Stop and take a breath.
I didn't
And
know that. I didn't know that that resonated with you. That's
it
good to know.
actually sunk.
I'm literally
It
learning this right
actually,
now.
yeah, well, and that has actually done more because I have stopped and been like, okay, let's think about it from their side. Let's think about what they're talking about. Let's think about just stop because we are in HR and we are getting everything thrown at us. Guess what? It's not about us. It's about maybe their leader. It's maybe about their team. It's maybe about some issue that anybody might be having at home. So let's stop. Let's take a breath. Walk around. If the person's on the phone with you, all you have to do is simply sit there and go, you know what? I want to look into that. I'm going to do something. Let me give you a call back. And maybe it's a good break for even if it's just a couple minutes. You come back and say, hey, that leader didn't get back with me. This person didn't get back with me. Stop. Just press pause. Take a breath. Take a moment for yourself. Compose your thoughts because you know what? 60-70% of the time, if it's someone who's coming at you heated, it's not, we all know it's not you. We all know it's
Yeah,
something else that's going on.
Mhm.
And
sure.
you're going to react. It's just human nature. You're going to react unfavorably to that person who doesn't actually need to hear that because you're just adding fuel to the fire. So it's just stop, listen, and take a break. Take a breath. So I'm giving that to Jake. There you go. There it is.
Thanks, Justin. That's. I'm glad that that resonated with you because Um, it's one of those things that, so I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, which is unusual for me. As you guys know, right? I don't really open up a ton, especially about things that really impact me. Ah, drink.
That's right.
Worked it in
I'm
there.
behind.
I got a pour.
Oh,
So Melody, you're last. That means you have to have two.
I know.
that's right. That's right. So, oh, by the way, the name of the movie was Straight Outta Compton. Fantastic
Oh,
movie. If you've not watched it, go watch the movie. It is fantastic. Anyway,
okay.
so so back to the example I was going to use. So the last company we were at together, um, the day that I decided that this is something I wanted to do for me, it's really the entire impetus for this. And I don't know if you guys even know this story because I don't think I've shared it. But I was driving home one day from work, and it was one of those like impossible situations where you've got your leader, in this case it was the CEO of the company at the time, is asking me to do X, Y, and Z. And part of X, Y, and Z entailed like getting with finance and getting a budget approval for something, and that wasn't working. And part of that ask entailed working with another leader, and they didn't want to cooperate. And for the first time since I was literally like deployed in Iraq in a combat situation, I felt like I'm driving home and like all of a sudden like my vision starts tunneling and I feel like I'm like getting ready to either pass out or hyperventilate or something. It was like the strangest feeling. And it was a full on panic attack. So I pull over. I'm literally driving west on 20 back to the house after work, and I pull over and I sat there for probably 5 minutes. But Justin, to your point, like I just sat there and like closed my eyes and took a deep breath and exhaled and then did it again. And that's something that it's really funny because like I learned that back in Taekwondo when I was a kid, like, and that is something that has served me throughout my career. But you know, all that said, I think as far as coping mechanisms truly go, like the breathing is good stuff and all that. But for me, one of the things that is that has been most valuable is a mentor, someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to talk to that understands what it is you do. So like I've tried to talk to, you know, the spouse or a friend or, you know, people that are outside of the situation. I've even tried to talk to Justin. Justin doesn't talk to those people. But my point is like, you know, you try to, but they can't really understand what you're going through where like you just had to, you know, as an example, I had to lay off in one day 17 people. And I know that those 17 people had the hardest day of their lives, or one of them, right? Top 5 hardest days of their lives. Sure. That's really hard on the individual delivering that too. And for the record, like piece of advice, big banner piece of advice for managers: don't ever tell an employee that you're terminating on the spot, like, this is really hard for me too. They don't want to hear that. Yeah. They don't need to hear that. Like, don't
because
ever
you're getting a check.
Yeah, you're still getting a paycheck. Like, they just lost their source of income, right? Like, they don't want to hear about your problems right now, hiring manager X or manager X, right? But I will say that like it is hard. I'm not saying that you can't feel that dilemma or that stress of like having to do what you're doing to that individual. But on the same token, like, again, don't mention it. don't tell them about your personal stress. But like being able to turn around then and talk to someone who has had to do that in the past, or someone that has the ability to understand, you know, what it is you're going through. I think that mentorship is really critical. So I'll stop there. But Melanie, what about you?
Yeah. So my advice kind of works with both of you guys' advice, but it's really just to stay calm and objective as much as you can be when you're dealing with a difficult employee or difficult employees. And don't, you know, if you indulge in the knee-jerk reaction, it can quickly escalate a conflict. If you're able to remain a little more neutral, you at least have a chance at, you know, hopefully constructive conversation, at least a better chance of it anyway. Yeah. So basically, don't respond with a line from your favorite rap song. And you're more
do
likely
that on the way home, right?
Do that in the car on the way home.
That's right.
Yeah.
I call Jake and recite my favorite lines from rap songs. Tell him my problems about that.
Nice.
And
okay.
He stops and takes a breath. And then when he doesn't return my call, I call you. And what do?
Yep.
You tell me to be calm. See?
Yeah, that's it. That's you.
And
just
all two of you make an impact. Yeah. Every time, whatever y'all do.
Hey,
that's 3 times. That's 3 you need from me now.
I'm behind.
I've got to fill it up.
Losing
you owe me
this
3 drinks. You only owe me 3 drinks.
Okay. So, you know, after talking about this, I think that maybe we need to put together a full playlist of HR rap songs to help other professionals dealing with rough days. So maybe in the future you'll see that. But I think
we should. Yeah. I think we should do that in Apple Music, and then we'll upload it to the podcast site. That'd be pretty cool.
Yep, we know the first 3 songs because we just said them, ding. So we'll build from that. So yeah, I think
and if you have recommendations, put it in the chat or the comment section. We'd love to hear from you on that. That'd be amazing too.
Yes.
Melanie, I was terrified for this. This is a great idea.
This was a brilliant idea. Well done, Melanie.
next week is your favorite classical song.
Oh,
Just
Jesus.
kidding. But yeah,
Scratch it.
thanks for
Edit.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and we'll be back next week for another sip of HR on the rocks.
Well done. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Go make an impact.